Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session, Applying for Civil Service Roles as part of National Apprenticeship Week. So this is our last session of the week. We've hosted a variety of virtual sessions with the aim of celebrating and showcasing the dedication and hard work of our apprentices and managers. So we've got some really great opportunities for new talent to join us at DVLA, but the first step to accessing those is the application process. So in this session, I'm joined by Lucy Price from our IT Workforce Management team, and she will offer some hints and tips to help you navigate the process and to ensure that your application is as good as it can be. So Lucy will explain the complexities of success profiles and tell you more about the STAR model, offering valuable insight for anyone wanting to build a career in the civil service. So after we've heard from Lucy, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. If anything springs to mind throughout the session, please pop it into the chat bar at the side and we will pick them up at the end. That's all from me. So for now, I'm going to hand you over to Lucy.
Thanks, Lucy. Afternoon, everyone. My name's Lucy Price. I work on the workforce management team in DVLA. So I've just put a little bit of information together for you because applying for a job with a civil service on civil service jobs and in the civil service, it can be quite daunting. So hopefully what we've prepared for you today will be helpful. Okay, go to the next slide, Lucy. Okay. So all of our jobs are hosted on civil service jobs. That's for the whole civil service jobs. So the first thing you should do if you're interested in applying for jobs is register on the website, create an account, and you can set up an alert. And it will alert you when a job within your parameters has come onto the website. So you can set it by location, job type, lots of different criteria, and then anytime a job is posted that matches that criteria, they will notify you of it, and then you can go on and view it and decide whether you want to apply. Okay, a couple of things about generally working in the civil service. So we really celebrate diversity within the civil service, and we're really keen to get applications from anybody, and we wholeheartedly encourage that. So a lot of our processes are set up to support that. In most of our adverts, you'll find a statement around our diversity and inclusion policies. We also do anonymised sifts, so that means that the hiring manager will not see any of your information until you're invited to interview. Okay. Okay, sorry, if you move on to the next slide, Liz, that'd be great. Sorry, we've had a few technical issues before this session, so I'm not in charge of my own slideshow. Apologies for that. Okay, so within the advert, you'll receive a lot of information about who we are as an employer, what the role entails, and what sort of person we're looking for. So all of the information you need in order to put in a good application is contained within that advert. So one of the most important things I would say is read the advert from start to finish. There will be a lot of words in there, but you will find a lot of key information within it. Okay, most of our applications take the form of a personal statement. Okay, so what that is contained within the advert. We will tell you exactly what we are going to sift against. So we will tell you specifically what we're looking for, and then you need to tailor your personal statement to include that information. Okay, so it's really important that you maximize the amount of words you have to do that. So generally, personal statement word counts we give are between 750 and about 1200 words. And you should always make full use of that word count to give us as much information about yourself as you possibly can in order for us to have a good understanding of you and how you would be suitable for the role. Really often people will attach a CV and then just write minimal in their personal statement. But unfortunately, we can only base our decision on what you tell us in the personal statement. Okay. So you should always tailor that personal statement as well. Another pitfall sometimes we see is people will create a personal statement and use that for several roles. But you really should take the time to personalize it for the role that specifically that you're applying for, to give you the best opportunity to get through that sift. Okay. So another thing we really like is for you to tell us, if we ask for experience of something, it's great for you to tell us that you have that experience, but if you can tell us a time when you've demonstrated that experience and the specific things you did within it, that will give you the best opportunity of giving us the information we need in order to progress you through to the next stage. Try to be as specific as you can. We always say, you know, within the civil service, to talk about yourself, and I know a lot of us really struggle to do that, and you tend to use we statements. So we as a team did something, but specifically in the personal statement, we are looking to see what you've done. So try, I know it probably goes against the grain for most people, but try to use I statements to demonstrate the specific things you did within the example that you're giving us. Okay. If the criteria, the SIFT criteria is 3 bullet points and the word count is 750 words, I would try to base it around 250 words on each of those criteria. Okay, obviously if you have more words, then split it up and make sure that you give a good demonstration of each bullet point. Okay, so we also really like the STAR method. So I'm not sure if you know what that is, so I've done a nice little slide next to show you what that is. And this really just helps you to think about how you write and structure it in a way that allows you to give a full demonstration. Okay, so STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So if you structure each of your examples within your personal statement in this way, it gives you the best opportunity of telling us everything we need to know. So you tell us what the situation was, okay? Then you tell us specifically what your task within that was. Then you tell us the actions that you took to achieve it, and then what the result was. And the biggest section within that is the action part. Okay, so I would expect you to maybe write 1 line each for situation and task. Then the bulk of your 250 words would be in that action section, because that's the most important part. And then the result then is just to round up how that situation turned out. Okay, that STAR method can be applied to you writing your personal statement. And also then if you're lucky enough to get through to an interview, you could use that STAR method as well to answer the interview questions. Okay, so that's applicable across the whole recruitment process. Okay, we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so success profiles is a framework that we use to assess candidates against a range of elements. Okay, so those elements are listed in nice colours below. So behaviours, strengths, ability, experience and technical. Okay, you can find the information on success profiles on .gov.uk. Okay, so I won't go too in depth today because it would be too much, but I'll just give you a little overview of what each of those elements are. So behaviours is a new name for what we used to term as competencies. And a competency is an ability that you have, and you demonstrate that to us by telling us about when you've done that previously. Okay, so in an interview, that would be the type of question is, tell me about a time when you, okay? So there are lots of behaviours, and again, in our adverts, we will tell you which behaviours we're going to test you against at interview. Okay, and we'll also give you a descriptor of those behaviours so that you can read them. And then before an interview, you can think about an example where you'd be able to demonstrate that behaviour. Okay. Strengths then are a different style of question. So they are what we're good at, what we're naturally good at, what we enjoy doing. Okay, so An example of that would be, do you enjoy getting things right? Or would you say attention to detail is important? So it gives you a different type of question to demonstrate what you enjoy doing, basically, to us, okay? Not so much an example of a time when you've done that, but more just how you feel about it, okay? Ability then, we tend not to use this too often in the digital recruitment. This is things like situational judgment tests and reasoning tests that sometimes civil service use if they've got very big schemes. So we don't use it too often, but that's what ability covers. Experience then we use quite often for our digital roles where they're quite specific or they look for something technical. We ask people to demonstrate their experience of that to us. And that could be as simple as, tell me your experience of coding, okay? So it's not looking for one specific time, like the behaviour. It's looking for you to just broadly tell us about your experience of a topic, okay? And then technical. So within DVLA Digital, we use the Sapphire framework, which again you can find online. Sapphire, it's the skills for the information age is what it stands for, and you can go on there and you can read about the skills that are contained within that framework. Be very technical things like business analysis, programming, architecture, those sorts of things. Okay, so depending on which role you're applying for, we will tell you, if we're testing skills, we will tell you which skills we're going to test against. And again, we would recommend that you go onto the framework and read the description of those skills. Okay, and think about what example you could use from your previous history to demonstrate that to us. And it's also interesting to bear in mind that when we ask for examples, it doesn't have to be a work-based example. It could be anything. It could be work, your personal life. If you've done something in college or school, those are all perfectly valid parts of your life to draw examples from. Okay. We'll move on to the next. Okay, so at the minute, because of the pandemic, we have switched completely to virtual interviews. Okay. So there's just a few tips here over the 2 years that we've been interviewing this way. If you do get invited to virtual interviews, some things to think about. So at the start of the interview, you'll be asked to verify your identity. So it would be as simple as holding up your passport or driving license to the camera, just to confirm that you are who you say you are. We email you through an invitation to the interview, so it's always good to just make sure you have a little test beforehand to make sure that you can connect. With Microsoft Teams, you don't have to have that downloaded. You can connect via the web. Okay. In case there are technical issues, and if there are, that's absolutely fine. It's nothing to worry about. At the start of the interview, we would ask you for a contact phone number. And then should a technical issue arise, we would just ring you on your phone and either rearrange the appointment or see if we can just do it over the phone instead. Okay, and that has happened. It will continue to happen. It's absolutely not a problem. Okay. So we do say to ensure that there are no distractions. So obviously, if you've got pets, try to lock them away for the time that you're on the call, or make sure other people in your house know that you're having an interview, just so that you don't get distracted more than anything else. Obviously, throughout the pandemic, we've had lots of people all being at home at the same time. So, if there is a distraction in the background during your interview, again, that's absolutely fine. We would just pause for a moment to let you deal with it and then come back. But you might find that the distractions would stress you out. But from our point of view, it's absolutely fine, and it's nothing that hasn't happened before. Okay. Again, don't worry if the signal drops. We've got that contact number, so we'll give you a ring. Okay. Making sure your camera's at the correct height. So I've done it today for you. I've propped my laptop up a little bit so it's looking directly at me rather than looking down or up. And you'll find that that's probably more comfortable for you. And then we also this is probably one of the single most important things that we do. So several points throughout the process, we do ask candidates if they have any reasonable adjustments they would like us to make to the process to make it go more smoothly for them. Okay, so that could be, you know, as part of a disability or anything really. So if you know, it could be as simple as the date's not convenient for you, not a problem, we can probably change that. Or if it's something more that you need a different format of information, or we can make an adjustment to the process to make it go more smoothly for you, then that's absolutely fine. And again, that's something that we do very often. So if you do get an interview in the civil service and you do need any adjustments to the process, big or small, we want to hear that. Let us know, because the most important message that we'd like to give you today really is we want you to be successful when you apply for these jobs. So anything we can do to help and support you, take advantage of it. Okay. There we are. So, I mean, that is a really, really fast whistle-stop tour of recruitment. So I do anticipate that you guys may have some questions, and obviously we look forward to those.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. I've had a couple of questions pop through in the chat box. I've got one from Alex. When you say about experience, how far back should I go?
Okay. Any experience that is relevant, it doesn't matter how far back it is. Okay. If you've got more recent working experience, that's probably the best experience you can give us. But if your experience is from a few years ago, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay. In the civil service, we like to talk about transferable skills. So just because you haven't done the exact thing we're looking for, if you've done something similar, it's a great opportunity to tell us.
Brilliant, thank you. I've got another one here from Chris. Are you going to go back to interviews face-to-face, or is this going to be the new normal?
Wow, that's an interesting question. The truth is, I don't know. We currently are working from home in DVLA Digital, and we anticipate that will go on for the majority of this year. When we do return to the office, it may go back to being face-to-face, although we have seen the benefits of doing virtual interviews. We find that candidates tend to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more able to demonstrate themselves in a positive way because they're in their environment. So a lot of the the anxiousness of coming to an interview is because you're in a strange place with strange people, and it's face-to-face across a desk, and it's all quite formal. So I'd like to think that there would be definitely in the future a place for virtual interviews.
Brilliant, thanks, Luz. Still waiting for a couple more questions to come in. Somebody asked if it's going to be taped, and yes, it is, and it will be sent out to anyone who signed up via Eventbrite. So yeah, no need to worry about that. You can catch up. I've had a couple more come in, so I've got one from Anonymous. Do you have any tips for not letting your nerves get the better of you in an interview?
Okay. I think sometimes we over-prepare. So we'd like the interview to be quite conversational because we think that's the best way to get the best demonstration from you. Okay, so I would say do your prep work, prepare, read the advert, find out what we're going to be testing you against, and make sure that you do have an example. So if we're going to test you against 4 behaviours, it's a good idea to have 4 examples for each of those behaviours, not 4 for each, but 4 for the behaviours that you're going to be tested against. But don't learn it to the point where you can recite it off the top of your head, because if the interviewer then asks it in a slightly different way than you were imagining, that might throw you off course. So it's better just to have an example in your mind. Remember STAR, okay? So remember if you tell us in that way what the situation was and what you specifically did and how it turned out, then you will get across everything you need to tell us. And the interviewers, if they feel that you haven't quite given them enough information, they'll ask you some probing questions about it. Okay. But yeah, nerves is just one of those things. I would just say be prepared, but not over prepared.
Thank you.
And as well, another thing I would say, having been on this side of the table interviewing people, it's just as nerve-wracking for us as it is for you, to be honest.
Thank you, Rose. Yeah, I 100% agree with that sentiment. And I think, yeah, perhaps being at home as well, like you said, makes people feel a bit more comfortable, making sure you've got some water to hand. And it's okay as well to take a breather and have a think before you answer. I know some people rush into their answers thinking, I can't deal with the silence. But I think if you need a moment, our interview panels are more than willing to give you that time and space that you need to answer.
Absolutely. Oh, and I've forgotten to say as well, you are able to take notes into the interview with you. If you choose to do that, absolutely, that's fine. I would just keep pointers, bullet points of things that you particularly want to say rather than your whole example written out like an essay, because in the pressure of the moment, you won't be able to deal with too much writing. Better to have just a few cards with a few bullet points of things that you definitely want to talk about.
Brilliant. I've got another question in from Jess. So she is asking, do you let people know whether they have been unsuccessful? And if not, how long should I wait before I assume I'm not successful?
Okay, so the great thing about the civil service is we've got this fantastic application tracking system. Okay, so when you apply on civil service jobs, that is logged with us, and you will always receive an outcome on your application. Okay, so I would say, so with it for DVLA specifically, we tell you when we're going to sift an interview. So I would say if you haven't had a result by the date that we've said we're going to do the sift, or sorry, no, just shortly after rather, then I would say to just drop us an email and check. And certainly, so at sift, it's DFT policy, we don't give feedback at sift. Okay, so you will just get a successful or an unsuccessful at the sift stage, but at interview you will get full feedback. Okay, so I would be quite concerned if you hadn't received a result within about a week of having an interview, and I would definitely chase it up.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. I've just got one more question in from Connor. He's asking, how accessible are DVLA jobs for recent university graduates?
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of jobs. So within DVLA Digital, we do a lot of code schemes. So code is our Centre of Digital Excellence. We do, in a few months, we're going out for an MSc scheme. So we're looking for people who've done like a computer science degree to come and join us to do an MSc. So every year we will do a set of schemes like that in our Centre of Digital Excellence. So obviously those would be great for university graduates. Okay, but then we've also just got general vacancies which you can apply for. So it would really just depend on how you can match your experience to what the advert is looking for. We do have a grade system. So our entry level grades are about EO. Those would be one of the lowest grades within the DVLA Digital department, and those would probably be the roles that would be most suitable for a university graduate.
Brilliant, thank you, Lucy. I can't see any questions coming in. I'll just give it a couple more seconds before we bring it to a close. But yeah, it is a minefield, and I think anyone going through the application process is thinking, what's the right way to do it? But there's so much information online in terms of success profiles and how to write applications. So if they pop on to civil service jobs, that should all be included in the job advert, shouldn't it?
Yeah, so within every job advert, we add like a candidate guide. So it's worth having a read of that. And for some of our roles, we also do familiarisation sessions where you can book through Eventbrite and come along and hear a bit more about the role. So if you do see any adverts that are offering those, it's always a good idea to take advantage of that.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we haven't had any more questions in. So on that note, I will bring this session to a close. So I just want to say thank you so much, Lucy, for presenting that today. I hope everyone found it useful. The session will be recorded and sent out to attendees afterwards. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us via the Eventbrite link. So thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you.